If you want news and rumors that appeal, welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. And welcome back, everybody. I think Taylor did it, everybody. Yeah, I think that is it. Okay, let's get this show started. Fun times, everybody. That's just a bubble of evil. Lanfear doesn't want us to talk about her. I understand. So let's bring our guests back into the show. And welcome. We made it. We're good, Taylor. We'll talk to you. Bye.
Hey.
That was always fun. So that I see what he what the issue was, and Taylor made the fix. So for anyone still here, we're going to talk about Lanfear, and let's do it. Let's get past this. As a reminder, this won't happen tomorrow for our episode all about the Age of Legends. That will be a blast. We're gonna kind of dig into specifically things about Lanfear from the Age of Legends, and the day after that's going to be a lot of fun because we're going to kind of jump in and start talking about theories, best fan theories out there, what Lanfear was plotting. And for those of you that know what we do around here, we also will be talking Natasha O'Keefe. Yes, Natasha O'Keefe becoming Lanfear is going to be a blast. And last but not least, we will end Lanfear week with, talking about Lanfear's masks. And, a good thing to remind everybody, and I'll throw this back up there, full book spoilers. Yes, we'll be talking full book spoilers. And with that, without further ado, let's jump into this. And I want to start off maybe with looking at the poll that we have. 160 people voted on this poll. And I don't know if either of you can see the poll, if you're following chat or not, but I'm going to end it. And the poll question was, which of these is Lanfear's most dominant personality trait? And this is a good spot to start because I don't agree with this answer. And so let's jump into this. 40% picked jealousy. Of the four listed here, we can talk about other personality traits. And then you got manipulation at 30%, 20% at megalomania, and envy had 9%. So let me start with you, rational nerd. What do you think about this list? And do you think anything specific is missing that should have gone to the top of this? Yeah, how do you react to what you're seeing there?
So I think the reason why people tend to think jealousy is also because that's pretty much the opinion of everyone we interact with about Lanfear. In a sense that we never have Lanfear's POV, but we have like a lot around POV who knows about Lanfear jealousy, constantly thinks about that. So I'm actually curious whether it's actually a dominant trait or it's the only thing we see because of which head we're in during the books.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and you brought this up, and I'll let you say it. What is something you found when you started looking into POVs themselves? I mean, like, did that surprise you to find out that you couldn't find a Lanfear POV?
I was convinced we had one.
Yeah, is anyone?
Me too. You said that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, is anyone in chat? You're like, you swear we did? When Camille looked, they didn't find anything out there, and I couldn't remember either. If there, right, you want to believe that there was, and was there?
Absolutely.
That's what does it mean to you if, let's say, we're right and we haven't seen any Lanfear POVs ever? What does it mean to you, I guess, Roof Mistress, as far as what that says to us about how Robert Jordan is wanting us as readers to engage with Lanfear?
For me, I swear there has to be a Sindane POV. Like I feel like there's one out there, but I rational like you are a researcher. I believe you. I've seen your spreadsheet.
Oh, I bet it didn't come up. That's a good because I'm like, where is there, you know, a Sindane one and just didn't list it as Lanfear, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but regardless, it's just like Mierin and Mierin, where we have very few of their POVs.
Yeah.
And so you see them through the lens of the unreliable narrators, especially like some of these younger kids
Yep.
who don't have a lot of world experience. And so experiencing them through, or specifically Lanfear and Sindane, through the histories that they're learning, so the tales that have been passed down through thousands of years, and then their personal interactions, under which they're under some mild form of compulsion a lot of the time with this, and they're not seeing the true her, and we as the readers don't get the true sense of who she is. It's all of the impressions of all the other people.
Yeah, and by the way, yeah, this just a reminder, full book spoilers, like it says. People brought up this one, Sindane, Winter's Heart.
Yeah, it's,
you know, we have one.
There's three. There's three small POV in the same chapter of Sindane. I am not checked for Sindane because I thought, why would they split the two? Yeah, sorry. Stupid stat.
Right.
But like
No
it's
joke.
800 words in total. So that's nothing.
Yeah, well, absolutely, and we get the Sindane version, which isn't really telling us too much, and I haven't gone back. I'll have to go back and look at those moments to see if we get any characterization from her. You know, is she telling us anything in those moments that's going to kind of dig into who she is? We get that moment at the end of early on in Memory of Light, where we have a conversation between Rand and Lanfear, and that conversation, right? He's like, well, why don't you just open yourself and I can know? And there's that moment, right, where as a reader, you're like, now we'll know everything for sure. And she doesn't do it, right? Which I think was the right choice, right?
That's probably one of the most telling moments within the book series about who she really is, because it's where you see her, you can see her physically struggling to want to do it, and then being honest with Rand and being like, I have been hurt in the past and I cannot do this for self-preservation. I cannot open myself. I can't let myself give you access to me that way, because she's basically telling him, in spite of the fact that she has this love obsession with him, which I'm sure we can get into later, that she still doesn't trust him to bear herself. And that is this, I think, in the entire series, singular most honest thing she ever does to herself, for herself.
Yeah, she says she doesn't trust, basically doesn't trust anyone. Like she's, in that moment, I don't think she's going to open herself up to anyone. That mistrust definitely seems to kind of highlight one of the pieces of who she is, right? I think we can gain that from her. I like this quote, and I don't know if if you want to read this one to everyone. This is a great quote. This is from 2005 from Robert Jordan's blog entry. One more time. This is what he wrote.
For Phil Reborn, Lanfear climbed onto the wagon to get the Angreal. Rand was occupying her to the extent that she couldn't afford to just use flows of air to bring it to her. And Lanfear being Lanfear, there was a touch of the dramatic in it. She was always a drama queen.
Okay. What do you think about that? Like, there's the author himself saying Lanfear is a drama queen. Do you see it?
Absolutely.
What does it tell you? Like, okay, what does a drama queen mean? Like, Camille, when we have the word drama queen, like what is that from an attribute standpoint?
To me, it's the extravagance.
Okay.
Kind of. It's if you do something, everyone has to know you're doing it. Kind of. It's people notices you in the room, and you want that effect to happen on people, I'd say.
You want to be.
And if I could
Gotcha.
add
Yeah.
on a little bit to that, it's not just like you want people to notice you. It's like good or bad. You want to always be the center of attention.
Yeah.
So just like all eyes on me all the time, please.
Well, and what's interesting is, although I would say this though, I don't think it's only that. I would say the reason why she does that has to do with manipulating people, right? She's being theatrical to affect the way people think about her, the way that people, like, in other words, when you think about acting, right? If we take it from an acting standpoint, right, you want them to believe the words you're saying. You want them to believe in you as a character. That doesn't mean that's what you're thinking underneath it all. So I feel like, to me, I always take the drama queen part of her as kind of a mask, right? It's a way for her, maybe it's always part of her, but she uses that to her advantage, if that makes sense. She knows that about herself, and she can kind of go overboard on purpose to try to push people in a certain way. Yeah, Camille, you seem like you're going to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like whatever drama is happening, she's either at the center of it or she's the one creating it. And the creation of that drama, it's very much the manipulation part. Everything that is happening, she's the one responsible for that.
Yeah. She's trying to play everyone, right? They're part of her.
Yeah.
Everyone is part of her play, right? This is the Lanfear show, right? In more ways than one, right?
It's Lanfear's week.
It's Lanfear week, right? This is part of. Well, I mean, it's funny because it is part of why we're having a week discussing her over maybe other characters. I love this. Kind of digging into the notes a bit. I'll show you this one. This is from. Well, this is an old box and folder designation from Robert Jordan's notes. I don't know what the new one was. I could not figure that out. But this is where it used to be. In box 28, folder 1, this was a list. And you can tell by seeing some of these names, this was an early list. This is if I remember correctly, I think we can kind of gauge where this is coming from if you see Agenor and Balthamel dead. But then you look at like number 5, Deoth, Moloch, Baaldrid, Malador, Maleficent, Sharain, Savintar, Samael, Ravine. And then Daemon Dread, or something like, was, I believe, used one of the names in Eye, check Eye and Hunt for any names used. So Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, he still hadn't decided on some names for other Forsaken. If you look at this, and I often diss other Forsaken. But let's just point out, he kind of knew where he was going with some of his characters, and he was still working on it with others. And at the top of his list are Ashamael and Lanfear. And you see this kind of habitually happen. Like, even when you look in the big white book, when it's listing the female Forsaken, Lanfear is listed first, right?
Yeah.
It tells us something without telling us something, right? She is, I guess it's Semirhage in the list of power is also listed as just as powerful as Lanfear, right? Mm-hmm. But you can notice that Semirhage wasn't even in that list yet that we had there. And so this idea that Lanfear was basically as powerful as you can get as a female channeler, and at the top of the list and spoken of in Ashamael and Lanfear, shows that it was in part Robert Jordan's design that we would be talking about this character, that this character was part of the kind of core plots. I don't know. Roof Mistress, you're kind of shaking your head. What were you going to say?
So a lot of people in the chat have been alluding back to one of the voting options of the megalomania. And I don't think it's so much megalomania as self-interest. So, like, yes, she does think a lot of herself, but I think she does things in self-interest and going as Kylie. Like, I feel like if you were a megalomaniac, you couldn't really, you wouldn't be able to allow yourself to go into this gross, like, fat, ugly form that's really sweaty and disgusting. Or even Sylvie, the kind of older crone woman that she goes to Egwene in the dream world. She's willing to take on these other forms for her self-interest.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a nuance of the word that I wanted. kind of go off.
Well, I'm going to point out there's two pieces that I think are important. Everyone talks about Lanfear. We haven't even brought this up yet as the most beautiful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that, I don't know. I don't see that. I see it as something where she's like, okay, there's a manipulation side of it. She'll use what she has, but that doesn't mean, I don't see her as being so kind of tied to her own ego about her looks that she's not willing to go and take on whatever look it means. Like, she'll take on any look, any attitude to kind of push her narrative, what she wants. Yeah, Camille, go ahead.
She does take any look, but she's also used like a weave to make herself look younger a lot.
Sure, no, that's true. Yeah, but because she knows what it can and how it can affect other people.
Yeah,
and so
true.
I guess my point is, I feel like if someone was so tied to the ego of their look, that they would have a problem doing what she does casually, right? Like taking on masks. Yeah. Taking on whatever it is from a manipulation standpoint, she's willing to do it. And it goes back to that kind of drama queen point, right? Mm-hmm. It's theater. It's theater for Lanfear, which I think is really fascinating, that others aren't maybe kind of tying the theater aspect. I even look at some of the other attributes we can kind of bring up here, but I tie those all as kind of one, if you will, or together. This is another quote from Robert Jordan I think we have to bring up when we talk about attributes, because this kind of comes up. Fans have said this. I'll read this one. This is from July 2005, Tor Questions of the Week, Part 3, if you were there. That was fun. This is a verbatim answer that Robert Jordan gave. As an aside, for those who think that Lanfear was in some way twisted against her will by being involved in drilling the bore, I have heard the theory advanced of all those involved in the project, she was the only major figure to go over to the shadow. She was ripe for the shadow's plucking long before the bore was drilled. Camille, what do you think he meant by ripe for the plucking, for the shadow's plucking long before the bore was drilled? Like, what does that tell you about, I guess, her character?
I mean, she always have an ambition, and I mean, she just the drilling of the bore happens literally because she was looking for a source of power that could be used both by men and women in the same way, so she wouldn't be limited by, like with Saida as she is currently. So there's already this desire for more for her, and yeah, a consistent theme of the books for her is this desire of wanting power and wanting to rule the world. And there's multiple times that her loyalty to the shadow is not that like strong. She purposely, like she on purpose betrays the shadow a few times because she, like, if she could rule the world with Rand at her side, she definitely would. And that's something she definitely offers him quite a few times.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, that was already the case when she was like dating Lustein. One of the reasons she broke up, like the relationship fell apart, if I remember well, is because, well, he had 3 names, she didn't. She was a bit annoyed by that, and she always wanted more power, and that's something that he didn't like. So this power was always something important to her.
Yeah, it was part of her up until that point, and like you said, she just brought that into the relationship with him at the time, and he noticed that, right? He noticed that she was more interested in, using him as a pathway and using him for his influence, because that brought her influence and power and notoriety. So yeah, I think that's
yeah. Did she really love Lusterin, or did she love the influence that his name was giving her?
Well, everything that we've told outside of, right, we haven't gotten into Lanfear's head for that particular aspect, and so, well, I would say I think she loved him how she conceived of love. Yes. Does that make sense? Not the same way that Lews Therin would have conceived of love, right? We're
well,
go ahead.
Very frequently, like when you hear people's wedding speeches, they talk about like, I thought I knew what love was until I met XYZ person.
Sure.
And Luz Theron, or Rand, even when he opens up, he's like, he enjoyed the relationship with Mierin until he met Ileana. And then he realized what true love was. He realized that he wasn't, like with Mierin, he wasn't capable of having that love with her beforehand. And she hasn't met anybody else that challenges her the way or kind of fits her the way that LTT did. So she doesn't have that, oh, and then I actually fell in love. She doesn't have that moment.
I don't know that she ever could. I don't think she ever could. Like, I think she is too, she's too power hungry. I would have picked megalomania. The power side of that, like always seeking after power at any cost, is to me like one of the most important understandings of Lanfear, is that power is the most important thing to her. Like that's basically it. So no, I like, even Rand, right? We have that Rand lose thing at the very end of in A Memory of Light, where he said something like, "You always come really close, but then you back away." Basically, like close to changing, but not, right? Unwilling to change, and in my mind, give up that desire for power that is basically what is enabling, or her enabling kind of characteristic in her head that makes it so she does terrible things in the pursuit of it, and she's not willing to give that up. So I don't think it's possible. I think yeah, go ahead.
Curious what level of therapy they actually have in the second age, because honestly, like I can identify with a lot of this stuff, like being kind of second best researcher, or she just always seems to be second best, and then wanting that guy that doesn't really like you, but you always just keep going after him. And the reason I'm not crazy, sorry, I don't want to use the word crazy because she's not crazy. I really dislike when people use the word crazy with her. But the reason I'm not like so far gone is because I have gone to therapy and realized some of these tendencies are not good. And she has surrounded herself with people that are egging her on. And then the Dark One continues to egg her on into her obsession with LTT, and very much enables that toxic trait of hers. So if she had had therapy, maybe she would have not gone quite so far off the deep end.
Okay, I got to ask everybody in chat there.
Therapy in the Wheel of Time.
If Lanfear had a good therapist, would we have the Lanfear we meet in the Third Age?
Would she have killed the therapist?
Yeah, and you guys will go over this in your second age, but just all the stuff that's in there. Like she didn't go over to the Dark One right away, and just kind of like held off until things just got beyond the point where she thought she could fix it, and then she's like, actually, I know this other path on how to fix all this and make it go my way. Yeah. So she was just holding off, waiting. And that's the self-interest part of her. I want to. We have an answer. So when Robert Jordan said she was ripe for the shadow's plucking long before the bore was drilled, and Camille, I don't know if you can read this one, but this is an answer. The acronym at the bottom of this quote is the. Now I'm like, what does R even stand for? The Big White Book. I don't know if I even put the acronym right. Oh, it's right here. Here we go. The World of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time. Sorry. I was like, why don't I know what the R is there? WR. Go ahead, and Camille, if you can read this one. This was from Chapter 4, The Fall into Shadow.
His touch subtly altered everything. Sus came within his influence. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. My screen is very.
It's too small. Yeah,
I don't know what.
I'll do it.
I don't know what Zoom is doing, but I've been seeing this whole screen for very blurry since the start, and I'm like,
I'll read it. You're good.
What's going on?
His touch subtly altered everything that came within its influence. All the baser motivations and emotional problems of mankind were enhanced and manipulated, enlarging envy, greed, and anger despite lack of any true motivating factors. All those dissatisfied with their lot in life felt that dissatisfaction intensify. Thievery, assault, murder, and even wars began to appear with increasing frequency. Those who were dissatisfied with their lives or who sought greater power now had a choice. anyone who thought that they had ever been mistreated or passed over, as well as many who just sought change, were drawn to embrace the dark. I mean, I feel like this is...
she felt passed over, of course.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying is I feel like she was, like he said, ripe for the plucking of the shadow, because she did feel dissatisfied with the fact that she never had that third name. She definitely was seeking out greater power, and saw this after it happened, right? Did continue seeing this as a choice, and was certainly drawn to embrace. Like, I feel like this is the exact kind of, like, she was primed that this was what she was going to do. Like, if she had an option for greater power, she was going to take it, and this is definitely what she took. So that's at least in my head, that's kind of how I read that explanation, if you will, for her. Is she was already there. The idea that she was part of the team that bore into his prison, like, makes so much sense, again, that Robert Jordan had this character, because it is ultimately a character whose base motivation was, I'm being passed over, but if I have more power, that can solve my problems, which is so weird, because she was the most powerful female channeler. Like, she was at the top of that limit. And I don't know, Camille.
It's a white tower concept. Like, the white tower, like, being powerful, being strong in channeling doesn't necessarily mean you're the best. So, like, maybe she wasn't the best researcher. Like, she was just too self-interested to, like, really get far. Maybe the criteria of being the best wasn't necessarily, I'm the strongest person out there.
Yeah, it is interesting. So I will I'm glad you brought that up, because this is a quote from the Wheel of Time Companion about Lanfear. And so I do think this kind of, like, dug at her, the same kind of question here. And it's a bit larger. I don't know if Roof Mistress, if you can read this one, but go ahead.
In the Age of Legends, she was a research scientist, if neither the most accomplished nor the most distinguished, studying new methods of using the One Power. Her search for an alternative led to the Boar. Yeah, like, I love this quote because, and Jordan, this is a quote they took directly from Jordan's notes. If neither the most accomplished nor the most distinguished, like, it's like she had to be the most accomplished or most distinguished, and which again is a strange thing. Like, you think about, I don't know. I was trying to think about this from a personality perspective. Like, there's so many famous people, right? There's so many people at the top of their fields, but often you're at the top of your field. Let's say you are the best brain surgeon, or you're acknowledged as one of the top. Like, maybe you're not the most renowned, but you're really, really good, right? And so it's that attitude of, like, no, until I'm acknowledged as the best, that's not enough. That's like, here's a quote from the World of Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, the big white book, from chapter 6 about the female Forsaken. This kind of goes in line with that. It says, born Mierin Eronaile, she was not world famous or well known, though she was respected by her colleagues. She worked at the Collam Daan, the prime center for research into the One Power, located in Visaine. Like, she's working at, like, the place you go, right, to research the One Power, like, prestigious location to work, and respected by her colleagues for her work. And maybe not the most distinguished or the most accomplished, but obviously good at what she does and well respected for it. So, Camille, what do you, like, does that tell you anything about who Lanfear is as a person, knowing that?
If she wasn't good, she wouldn't have been able to read into the bow, because that did require a certain skill and knowledge in how to reach that new source of power. But yeah, she's a good researcher, in my opinion. It just, maybe the field she was in was too many people, too many competition, or it's but it must have been very frustrating to her if she had this idea of being the best and could not.
Yeah, she didn't get there. And what's interesting is Robert Jordan, he talks about Bedoman. Bedoman, I don't know how you... Bedoman, who was another noted Aes Sedai on that team of individuals looking into, like, the Boar and doing the research about Bedoman Robert Jordan said in July 2005, also in that Tor Q&A for Questions of the Week, Part 3, he said, Bedoman was a male Aes Sedai and a research genius who believed that they were on to something great. The drilling of the bore itself caused great damage, and Bedoman, Lanfear, and others involved were blamed for that. Once it became clear what had actually happened, the opprobrium increased, and Bedoman sought obscurity, finally committing suicide when he was unable to achieve it. Everyone knew his name and what he had done. He had nowhere to hide. Right? This Robert Jordan calls him out as a research genius, and that's not how he never, at least in his notes or in his discussion, never referred to Lanfear that way. But I will point this out again, showing kind of where, I guess, at least in the Big White Book, and we all know that that's kind of like meant to be like a unreliable narrator kind of history about things that happened. So I guess we should take this with a grain of salt. But also said one of the team of researchers at Collam Daan, including in their number Mierin, Eronaile, and Bedoman, both Aes Sedai believed that they had actually found that source. There seem to have been other members of the team, but their names have not survived. The record also does not tell us Mierin's position on the team, though at least one source does mention Bedoman as assisting her. Using the one power in what was, they hoped the last time Saidin and Saidar would be separated, Mierin and the team bored to the source of that unusual power emanations. So definitely work together with that genius assisting her, perhaps. Maybe this was something that she felt even more passionate about than he did, but he also was part of that. So again, kind of in proximity to, right? Always in proximity to, because she was a very capable channeler, the strongest female, and obviously part of a team in some way that being assisted by, a genius, if you will, researcher of their time in the Age of Legends. And so it's like almost at the top, if you will, right? Like in the discussion, maybe not the most well-known, probably more well-known, obviously, after dating Luz Theron, but I don't know.
There's an almost.
But was that?
There's an almost.
Yeah.
And that can be enough.
Well, it was. I mean, it's clearly like something that drove. What is that attribute when... Does it fit into any of the attributes we've talked about up to this point, Roof Mistress, where it's not enough, right? Like the notoriety, the fame, the power. Is that just megalomania, or is there something else to it?
Yeah, I still don't think it's megalomania. Like I think it's just, and I know there's a word out there. I'm just completely blanking. But imagine.
French.
But imagine that like you are about to have this great discovery, and like I am going to be the one that pull all the power together. Like I am finally going to get my due, and it just backfires in your face so hard. And you're just like, you're so close. You're so right there. You're doing all the right things. Like maybe I don't need Luz Theron anymore. Maybe this is her moment. And then it just catastrophically backfires.
Yeah.
To the point where eventually your maybe mentor, somebody who is like noted as a genius, who's helping you and like being like, yes, we're on to something. We got this. Like, they commit suicide over it. So it just like, I think that gets back to the, like, she was just primed for, because just all of the backlash, you know, that big high that you're on and having it let you down so hard, like you just come crashing to the ground.
Well, he committed suicide, right? Bedoman, so well known, and he couldn't escape like what he had done. Lanfear on the other side was like, did not stop looking for power, right? Like that, and eventually did find power with the Dark One, right?
She doesn't.
But that's the same.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say she doesn't go over right away. So like she feels this whole backlash.
She doesn't.
She's not like, oh, this, maybe I should do this now. It takes her a while to
Yeah, and at the same time,
a long time.
When you're considering that it's basically like this project, if it had worked, would have changed, or every magic user would have used like magic, or or the power would work, and that would have brought us such glory, and you're almost there, and then when you reach that line, everything collapses, and it's either you go like that Baderman, I don't exactly remember his name. Either you like collapse because everything you worked for was a fraud,
Right.
and you remove yourself of the situation, or you just have to keep going because what else can you do?
Oh, but you bring up a good point. I would say this is definitely an attribute of Lanfear. Lanfear is a survivor.
Yes.
Lanfear, whatever, was part of that thing. Did not let that stop. Did not let that stop her. Right? Like, well, however people treated her, she did not stop. In fact, not only did she not stop, like, she put herself out into the public in ways where you're like, you're just adding to how much people don't like you, right? Like, you're never, like, almost like she had given up maybe trying to kind of please and get her third name or whatever. Because I do think this was I think part of this was, I'm going to get the power I'm after. And in service to the, that third name was about service. And so, like, this is a person that is not familiar with that concept, but is looking at research driving this, like, well, if we discover this thing, then maybe that will get me my third name and all of the adoration that I see others have. I like this comment from Martin. Thank you very much. Said, I have thought about the Age of Legends. If everyone had their material needs fulfilled, eliminating money, then I believe the importance of personal glory, as in third name, would be increased. I think that's I think that's a really good way to say it, which is like maybe the fame, the glory, if you will, and glory is definitely a word she brings up to Matt and Perrin, right? Like, you can have all the glory. I can help you get this glory if you just do the things I'm telling you to do. So maybe it was so important to her, and maybe in a society that it was even more important than a way that we maybe can't understand for someone that is so powerful yet not given the accolades she thinks that she deserves. So,
I mean, when you're in a situation you don't need anything anymore because you've got everything, but you still want to be liked, then you buy Twitter.
Hey now. Stay in the second and third age. Stay in the second and third age. So yeah, I think I'm like reading the comments here. No, that's a good question. Hybrid Havoc says, is there any indication that Mierin and Lanfear considered the drilling of the boar a failure? That's a great point. I'm trying to think of anything where... Yeah, go ahead. Do either of you remember anything where you would say... Again, we don't have the POV, right? Yeah, it's...
Yeah,
we don't know. We obviously...
The general opinion about the bow is that it's a failure.
Right.
So it's not something that's going to give her a surname, that's for sure.
That's true. It's a failure in the sense of it's not going to bring her the glory of acceptance of fame in that era, but it does become not a failure in the sense of that is her avenue for fame, if you will, for infamy at least, becomes the avenue for it. So she does.
And then I wonder if that comes down to how she's personally defining it. So she did find another avenue to power. So her personal metric was find new power source, check, mission accomplished. It just didn't have quite the same effect on the entire world that she thought it was, or that the team thought it was going to. It had quite negative effects.
Yeah.
But, and I think maybe that's where her brain possibly goes as a researcher. Like, what was my metric? My metric was to find a new power source, and I did. And then, like, and again, we just don't have a lot of information about any of their thought process or any of the history of those. We have little snippets of intervening times.
But I'm going to end this poll.
Mostly focused on her relationship with Lutheran and not on what her accomplishments were.
Well, yeah, and I want to bring that up because I saw a question in chat, and I think this is an important question: is why did she ultimately turn to the shadow? By the way, if Lanfear had a good therapist, would we have had Lanfear we meet in third age? It was a split vote. I was kind of surprised, 50-50 there. I like my fellow Innkeeper's question here. Would Lanfear have existed if Mierin had achieved a third name? My answer to that is yes. I 100% don't believe.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is I mean, think about what she says to Rand. Isn't it to Rand? When she's like, we can challenge the Dark One and the Creator himself. So, like, third name is totally like, it's cool. It's just a notch of, yeah, I achieved that. Of course I did. I'm the most powerful, most capable, most intelligent, most infamous person. But there's still a level. So I feel like if she had gotten a third name, that wouldn't have necessarily meant she was going to get a relationship back with Luz. She was always going to be the person that wanted things that she could not have. And so I don't think that I'm seeing, I can't tell, shaking heads. Roof Mistress, you begin on this. Do you agree still would have had Lanfear regardless of getting a third name or not?
I do think we would have had her, because even when she goes over to the Shadow, she has a one-sided relationship with Ishamael. So, like, even though she's powerful, she's doing all of these amazing things, he gets named as the Chief Captain General over the forces. And you can see even her interactions with him in the books. I think it's through Perrin's perspective in the dream.
Yep.
That she's like, you're taking over my world, like the dream world's mine, and he just like literally laughs at her face. He's like, okay, yeah. Sure, Lanfear, whatever.
No,
so it's just,
yeah. Well,
it's indicative that, like, and she's not the most powerful she's not even a dream walker. She's not the most powerful in Tar, but she thinks she is, and nobody's gonna sit there and question her. They're just like, okay, Lanfear, sure, you're the best, you got it.
Well, you bring up this, she goes to the dark, right? So she's like, now, like, I was on the team. I mean, we don't know if she said this to herself. So this is an imaginary conversation, right? From the book perspective, like, this was something I did, and none of those people are left. I'm the one that brought the Dark One into this world. And the Dark One chooses someone else, right? Mm-hmm. Chooses Elon, Mierin, Tedranai, right? How rude, right? And now that person is somehow telling her what to do, right? And there's a constant conflict, right? It's never enough. Even being number 2 to the Dark One, if you will, right? Being number 2. And I saw this earlier, and I apologize for not bringing this up. Let's see if I can go find it. Yeah, there it is. Andrew, thank you very much. Said, same for Samael and Belal. Both were generals who turned to the Shadow because they thought they were better than LTT. Stubble McShave. Masana was a failed teacher librarian. Lanfear was a failed scientist. Both had too much of an ego to accept their status. Like, there's many of the Forsaken are here because they were second best, right? Or they just were not in the top of their game. And then even when they go over to the Dark One, they're not either. And so there's this constant, like, battle to be at the top. He certainly has the people that were the most deceptive, most manipulative, most capable survivors. Those are the Forsaken that were left in the end, right? And so it is fascinating to see that she still fought it, even though she had access to this new power that she wanted. She had access to the true power. Like, even in the Third Age, Robert Jordan. Oh, I'm not sure if I included this. This quote. I don't think I did. But basically, we'll bring this up and we'll talk about this probably on the Theory Show. But basically said, yeah, like, she was using true power when she disappeared from Min. I think that was in the Great Hunt. So, like, definitely has access to the true power. Has the power that she wanted that was, and still like, dissatisfied. Like, I don't know, Camille, is there any way, what is the ultimate outcome for someone like this? Is it just chaos until they die? Basically, they're just destructive until they no longer exist?
I mean, yes, there's a self-destruction in that. If you're never satisfied but by anything you get, no matter what you're doing, it's never enough. I mean, that's not very healthy in any way. You definitely need a therapist.
Yeah, we're back to the therapy on it. Martin said, let me throw this up there. They were right about one thing when joining the board: the new power source, true power, could be used by men and women alike. That's true. They did they detected that from their research, right? They're like, this is something we could use. Somehow they were aware of that. Jordan never explained that piece. And Scotty said, Lanfear has an askew idea of what power is. Loose power came from respect. Lanfear doesn't seem the type to try and earn respect. Yeah, like power and what it means. For her, it's power over people. Power to take what you want, regardless of what other people want, right? Power, so much power. And that's why I think she is, to me, sorry, I just said one of. That's not what I believe. She is the greatest Wheel of Time villain because she is the person who believes that. Like, that is your greatest villain, right? Is someone who has basically no boundaries, has no respect for humanity or anything else, just herself and what she wants, and will go to any lengths to do that, and can survive, right? Maybe lots of people feel that way, but powerful enough, deceptive enough, intelligent enough to survive with that kind of attitude in the midst, or that kind of belief or self-belief. To me, that makes her like the greatest villain. There's other villains that are quite interesting, right? But to me, that is what makes her kind of stand up above and beyond the others. I'm seeing Riff Message here, like shaking your head. Do you agree with that? That she is of our villains is the greatest villain, or just kind of among, or is she second to somebody? That's how she always is.
No, she is definitely the greatest villain, and in her own way, she does get the most accomplished for her. Like, again, it's all the metrics. So, like, if you're just looking at like general catastrophe across Randland, like they all kind of fail. But her metric is like she wants that singular power. She wants to continue to move forward, and she gets really close so many times. But her perseverance and the fortitude of character that she has, whether it's good or not, like she does have this fortitude of character. And when she gets knocked down by getting pulled into being Sindane, she's like, okay, fine, you guys don't need my help anymore, and kind of like, fine, you guys go ahead and do it and see what happens without me, and goes back into the shadows. Kind of doesn't really do anything for multiple reasons, and I'm sure we can get into that. Like, she's not really allowed to, but also she's just like, and that's, I think, when all of the Forsaken really start failing catastrophically on their own, because she is great at doing the chaos. Like, she gets Asmodean to go help Rand.
Yep.
She is able to get like so many people. She gets Egwene on her path. She gets Matt on his path. Like, she is putting these pieces on the chessboard and letting them go and nudging them when she needs to. Like, she is extraordinary what she does. And when she just sits back and basically gives them the double middle finger and says, sure, like, fine, whatever, F you. It just, the Dark One's plans start to unravel.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point. I haven't ever looked into that idea, which is when we see her leave, right? Like, is there just more? I mean, I guess there's a lot of things happening there, right? Because we're starting to lose more Forsaken, so it's kind of hard to know. But yeah, there's certainly a lot to be said for it gets a lot more chaotic without her there in some weird way. Camille, what were you going to say? Through this kind of conversation we're having, just about her her survival and her being kind of a great villain, if you will, for the series.
Yeah, so comparing her to all the Forsaken, I think what she has very interesting for her is that even when she fights for the Shadows, she still fights first and for all for her. And some of the Forsaken, they put themselves first, but it's always first at the service of the Dark One. Like, they want to be the top one of the Dark Ones. They want to be, I don't remember what's the name.
The Nameless?
The Nameless. Yeah, they want to be the Nameless. She's kind of like, she wants everything for her. And not, like, I don't think even being Nameless would be enough for her.
No, yeah, exactly. I agree
about that.
And I think that's what's fascinating about her, because that means she's a lot less not expected, but like it's harder to anticipate what she's gonna do because she puts herself first. So I think that's what makes at least like the most fascinating of them all.
Yeah, I think it's again, there's some theatrics if you think about how she arrives in their dreams. Like Ishamael is just like, he is kind of this character who's kind of gone insane because of his connection to the true power, and we meet him in a very different place than maybe Elan Moore, obviously than Elan Moore and Tedronai. We don't really know Lanfear. Like she has not been alive coming out like he was for periods of time. We just get her directly after the bore was sealed, right? Like she's coming into this world. Because I feel this point, Christian just said, Elan is the greatest in my opinion. He's responsible for destroying the White Tower, Arthur Hawkwing, and most of the great kingdoms in the past. Lanfear is responsible for waking the Dark One. I don't think it's a fair comparison between those two because she hasn't been out and about. I think immediately the least interesting plot is Ishamael's plot when we meet him, right? Things he's done in the past, sure, but his ability to manipulate Rand and his friends to me is subpar to what Lanfear's doing with them. And then he leaves, and then obviously,
then he's had how many failed attempts?
Right.
Doing whatever he's trying to do with the Trolloc War, with Arthur Hawkwing, he's constantly failing.
Yeah, and it's an interesting and Riss has a great question here. Can any of the Lanfear's actions be explained by the Dark Prophecy? We have a Daughter of the Night. She walks again the ancient war. She fights. Her new lover she seeks. Who shall serve her and die, yet serve still? Who shall stand against her coming? Do you think that any of that is connected to what her overall kind of plot arc was for the books in that Dark Prophecy? Or do you think that was more just like more so a she's out and about and she's going to take back what's hers, and basically kind of statement?
I think that's how she would see it. She's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do my thing. So what? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell us too much about what's going. I would agree with this. Hybrid Havoc. She looked at the title Nameless and said, what, beneath the Dark One? No thanks. Yeah, that's, again, but that's what makes her interesting to me. Like, as someone that enjoys this character, is there's not an end to her plotting, right? There's not just an end. Like, there's not enough. Nameless would not be enough. No amount of power. If she defeated the Creator and the Dark One, she would move on to whatever was out. I think she'd be dissatisfied if there wasn't something else. Yeah, like what is?
Let me take over all the world.
Yeah, like are there other wheels, other creators? And she'd be moving on. That's what to me is kind of the fascinating piece of her as a character. I want to read. Robert Jordan wrote a letter. He answered some questions to fans that wrote letters back in the day. This is from 1994, and this one's to Carolyn Fusinator. I think I wrote that right. And this is I think a great discussion about. He was talking about evil and the Forsaken in this one. But believe me, there is nothing they will not do to achieve their goals. No price too high to pay, especially if it is paid by someone else or millions of someone else's. And Lanfear holding back and doing good for Rand's sake? Ha! She was psychically fixed on possessing a man who never loved her. Even with that, her desire for Rand was as much a desire for power as for him. To be the one to deliver the Dragon Reborn to the service of the Shadow, that would set her above the other Forsaken. And learning that the Access Terangreal for the two huge Sangreal were still in existence, sure, she wanted his love, not least because it had been denied her. Lanfear was a woman who claimed a right to anything she wanted his devotion, but even more than his body, Lanfear wanted power. The power possibly to replace the Dark One, even to replace the Creator. For Rand's sake, not a chance. I love that he clarified. Clarified exactly to me, again, kind of these core features, which is like something's denied her, she wants it. Just because it was denied. Not necessarily because it's like if Nameless is being denied her, she wants it. Not because that's the end of what she wants. It's just she should have it, right? have we defined that core attribute? Like when something is denied to you, that you just want it to have it, so you can say that, like, because you believed it was yours. Is that encapsulated in any of the attributes that we give Lanfear already, or is that something different?
Is that envy or
is that envy? Yeah, I mean, I guess that works with envy, right? It's you have something, you want something that somebody else maybe has, and so you. But what is it like to be envious, but then to go and do something to take it? It's like envy followed by.
There's like an action that goes behind that, and I'm just.
Yeah, like is there a? I think envy is a really good one for that one. Like, what leads her down that road? But yeah, who claimed a right to anything she wanted. And so it's like
almost entitlement.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I could go with yeah. There you go.
Entitlement would have a portion of that is envy. Like, I think that should be mine, but then there's the action component where you actually make choices to go get that thing. Yeah,
greed, envy, entitlement, all I can think work in that way. You know, all of them. This is a good one. Avarice. There we go. I'm trying. What have I missed here? That's an interesting.
More get therapy.
more get therapy. This is a good question from Scotty. How much do you think it bothered Lanfear that she wasn't nameless? She released the Dark One. I feel like she probably felt entitled to it. I mean, I think we kind of talked a little bit about that. Camille, do you think that actually bothered her, or just, again, one of these kind of like, she thought it was hers, and ultimately she was going to get it through other means? Yeah, did it bother her?
It definitely bothered her that she wasn't like the second one of the Dark One. Like, there's a lot of rivalry between her and Ishamael that is definitely just one-sided, with her being jealous of his power and his position during the War of Shadow. And I think it's the same thing here. Like, it should be her. She literally released the Dark One.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, she was at least frustrated by that.
Can I get a clarification on the timeline? So Morgan's the one that gets named Nameless, right? So isn't all of this after she gets pushed through the Red Terran Girl door?
Well, because
with Dane?
Back in the second.
So isn't she Dane by then?
Back in the Second Age, I think it was. I need to go back and read. I have the quote, but I didn't post it.
So he got named Chief Captain General of the Dark One. So yes.
So, and she wasn't like, she was still part of things going on, but she was not in that role, and that was still kind of. So I don't know if you just call that like nameless of the time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
because the Big White Book was very deliberate about saying that it was a one-sided rivalry there.
Yeah.
But Nameless, if you were going to specify Nameless, that happens after she's basically demoted and already made a power play to basically kill the Dark One with Rand.
Yeah, that's true. I think certainly what she cared about more was getting away from Moradin, getting away from Ishamael, right, at that point, versus... and my guess, I would say, I need to go back and read that POV from Winter's Heart, kind of where because I can't remember if Lanfear says anything about, from a motivation standpoint, if we get that feel of what she cares about most in that moment. But I would read it like, once Sindane happened, she was basically done with the Dark One. Like, it was my way out here. And that's what she basically is kind of appealing to Rand in A Memory of Light, right? Like, she wants help to get out of the situation she's in. Not because she loves him or anything. Again, access to... she wants vengeance. She wants to get back at the people that have hurt her, but to get away from them and have another chance, and knows the Dark One is not the route any longer, right? Last chance. That avenue is... Just like the avenue to a third name was gone after the Boar. The avenue to the Dark One as a form of like power that she could use. To me, I think as Sindane, I don't think that she
Well, and
thought
even
that
at
was.
the Dragon Reborn, she's already kind of gone past that, because from the beginning of the Dragon Reborn, she's talking to Rand about getting him a teacher, and then talking to him about like, oh, there's these access key things. So she's already alluding to moving beyond, I think, having realized the war ended, Lews Therin trapped all of them, but this is a whole completely brand new age with completely different powers. The Dark One's still a little bit trapped, so a little bit handicapped. Like her brain just goes, oh, maybe I can get a little bit more.
Yeah. No, that's. I'm asking everybody this question. Did Lanfear care about becoming nameless after she? No, I'm going to delete that one. The poll was ended because it was poorly worded. I didn't allow. I was like, no, I need the answer to the poorly worded Dusty Wheel poll there. I didn't even show up. That's funny. I ended that poll, and I wonder if there's like no one had voted on it, so there. Oh, there we go. It did finally show up in chat. Of I'm gonna try that again. After she became. There we go, everybody. There you go.
Miller's never allowed to go on vacation again.
No, the polls are always my bad. I just learned at the beginning of this show. I just learned another thing about how things are set up here. That's all. Now I know. Here's another. I think this comes from Robert Jordan's notes. This is early on. If I remember correctly, this individual's file that we have from Robert Jordan's notes is from as he was writing The Dragon Reborn, or like things he was kind of collecting about the first two books. So I still think there's a little bit difference in what we get in the books from where he was at this point. So you got to take this with a grain of salt, right? Some of these notes are early on, so they're not. He changes kind of where he's going. But this one I thought was interesting, so I'll share it. This was from, again, the old box and folder number here, box 28, folder 1. I think there's a different box and folder number where this is at. It says, Selene, Lanfear, Daughter of the Night. She may use other names, other appearances. She can, within very broad limits, change both her apparent age and her physical appearance. Not her general size, though. She's always the same height, etc. No matter what Balsamon wants, she has her own plans. She wants power for herself, for one thing, and none of that sitting at the feet of Balsamon and ruling all below. Power in her own right, with none above her. Beside that, she wants Rand al'Thor. More specifically, she wants Lews Therin Telamon, reborn. When he last lived, she lost him to another. This time, she means him to be hers. She's a power wielder, at least the equal of Ishamael, the betrayer of hope, who was accounted the most powerful of the Forsaken, but she never liked flaunting her ability, preferring to let others think she was less powerful than she actually was. This made them careless and gave her advantages. She may well have been close to Lews Therin himself in strength. So most of that holds true to what we have heard about Lanfear, but I thought it was interesting. I don't think that we consider her basically at least the equal of Ishamael, as far as the most powerful Forsaken. Although I guess we do, because the way that Robert Jordan describes it, he's like basically dexterity, like how you channel and how females and males have access to channeling. Basically, the people at the top of the max that are about the same power level. So her being just as powerful, but I think it was this part where she never liked flaunting her ability, preferring to let others think she was less power than she actually was. This made them careless and gave her advantages. I like that from an attribute standpoint, again, because she's not a dumb villain. I guess I hate the mustache twirling villains we sometimes get here.
Let me tell you my entire plot.
Yeah, I just, to me, Elon is a boring villain. Like, he's just like meets up with them in their dreams and he's like, I'm going to get you, and you're like, okay.
Watch me break some rats.
Drink this thing. And yeah, I'm going to look what I could do to you. And I feel like there's more calculation and more threads that she's weaving. I know Moghedien is the spider, but she kind of has a lot, I guess. Maybe that's what it is. She has a lot of the pieces of other Forsaken, never as much as them. They're maybe isn't as good as all of them, but together has a lot of their attributes.
She's second best in every.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and maybe that's got to be the frustrating part, because she is a robust, well-rounded villain. So, and she does have all these amazing, unique, and she is the second best of all of them. But it's got to be so frustrating to be like, God, can't I just really be the best Dreamwalker? Or can't I be the best manipulator? Or can't I be the best strategist? Like, just let me succeed in one thing, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it is. Maybe that's that character flaw. In addition to many, many character flaws, but is one just that. Yeah, I guess it goes back to that envy. Like other people are
entitled. I'm entitled to be the best.
Yeah, like
I'm so like I'm really like I know I'm the one that said it, but like I'm really homing in on entitled as like her big character trait, and which it is mostly negative, and I was trying to go with self-interested at first, but that's not. I don't think that's deep enough.
Yeah. Is she the best? This is a question for everyone watching. Okay, so Lanfear always is bothered by never being the best, right? And is always seeking after having that. Is there something that you see in Lanfear where you go, no, Lanfear is the best at this? This is where maybe she didn't even recognize that she was the best of in this way.
Surviving.
Okay, there you go.
Well, even the best, like best overall. So like you take all the points from everybody and then you put them all together. And so everybody's being judged on all the things. So like you win the most points.
And she doesn't care like about, she doesn't.
But that's never like an actual
that's not enough
thing
for her, right? But like surviving, I try to think of like all the Forsaken and with all of her gifts, and she certainly did survive. I like that. By the way, did Lanfear care about becoming nameless after she became Sindane? 90% agreed. I would agree. This is a good one too. Andrew, Lanfear is the best at playing the light against the dark one. She is the best. I would say that's true. Playing both sides, she's really good. Like from in the book, right? Playing the long game, playing both sides. Surviving in the end, like basically doing everything she needs to do to survive, right? To win out. Yeah, maybe this is. Would you call her the best strategist? Let's ask everyone. Is Lanfear the best strategist among the Forsaken?
And it's interesting because I do think this gets back to how she personally defines things. I can't remember who made the comment before about her version of power is self-serving, whereas Luce Telemann's was serving the people, and that's where the respect gave him the power. And so I think the strategist question comes into her mind, like she probably knows that she's the best long-term strategist, especially from behind the scenes. But I think Samuel is the one that's acknowledged as the best general and the best strategist. But again, within the context of those words, the best general. So he's the best war-fighting strategist.
Yeah. Right.
Ishmael is very strategic in his own manipulations, and obviously has been acknowledged by the Dark One as the chief captain general. But is he really the best?
And Andrew brought that up. Faulty poll question. Military strategist, no. Strategist for her own interest. We're talking about overall, right? This isn't meant to be like when you just think from the Forsaken as far as how they are going to accomplish what they want. Robert Jordan, he said, basically, there's nothing they will not do to achieve their goals, no price too high to pay, especially if it's paid by someone else. Is she the best strategist when it comes to getting what she wants as one of the Forsaken, right? And people are bringing up that Grendel. I think Grendel was definitely has to be in that conversation. Ishmael has to be in that conversation. And Ravine says to him, like, we have his point of view, and he's meeting with, I think, was it in book 6 when they meet? Lanfear comes in, and she's like, I came in first, so everybody else, when they come, you're not going to freak out. And it's in his point of view, and so he is thinking about her and talking to her, and talks about how she's not going to be the general at the front of the army. That's not going to be her. says she always like fights from the flanks or the rear. But again, for her own survival, that makes a lot of sense, I think. I'm going to throw this comment up from Martin. Martin, thank you very much. Lanfear is the best at physical looks. The way I understand it. There you go. So that's a fascinating thing, Camille, right? Like one of the things that is universally said about Lanfear is like the most beautiful, right? The most beautiful, the most beautiful, loyal, right? And we'll talk about this from the theory show that we do. Even loyal is like feels like, oh, she's a beautiful human being. I never think about human beings as beautiful, basically. And it's like, so regardless if you think that that's like enhanced or not, and we'll talk about that more in detail on Tuesday, the most beautiful, Camille, do you think that Lanfear like cares? Like, is that like almost, is it almost like do you think Lanfear hates being like that's the trait everyone's like, you're the most beautiful, and she's just like, that's not the thing I want power, and sure, this is an avenue to it, but do you think that or do you think that Lanfear just embraces that and it's like, no, I just use this and I am the best at that, I just want to be at the best at other things?
So I think she's fine with being beautiful and she used that, but also it's not the thing she's values the most, because so we have a few Forsakens that dies and then are brought back, and especially to punish them, usually like the Dark One do something to them that's like to kind of punish them. Lanfear, she is reincarnated as someone that is different but still very beautiful. Grendel, who values her beauty a lot more, she's that ugly woman when she comes back. So I think that shows that even if she is pretty and she's like very proud of being pretty, she's not putting that above everything else like Grendel is doing, because otherwise she probably would have been like, the Dark One would have used that to punish her.
Yeah, interesting.
He makes her short more than like the physical attribute is really like, he makes her short, so she doesn't get to loom over and look down on people anymore. She has to look up to them.
Yeah,
so that's interesting.
Yeah, like 5.
As
like,
somebody who's 5'9" as a woman, like,
yeah,
that's one thing that I do take for granted and have conversations with my friends who are, like a little tinier than I am, is like what the height differences are and like what it means. And I work in. I identify with Lanfear so much, so but working in a mostly male environment, being able to, especially when I wear heels, like be as tall, if not taller than them, and there's just this physical, in being able to physically impose in somebody's space is it's a psychological attribute, and she used to have that, and then her punishment is not being ugly, it's being short.
That's interesting that because yes, Indana is still acknowledged at least as like a beautiful person, just in different attributes, and that's an interesting. Like the short was, although the body that's available is often the body that's used, but I still think you're right in the sense of, I think you can read it that way for sure, which is the shortness.
But the Dark One always finds the perfect way to punish. So I think it's Agenor is the one that gets put in the female. So the Lecher gets put in the female body. The one who becomes Bathsheba is just whatever, like doesn't care about physical. But then Grendel is put in an ugly body, and Lanfear is put in a short body.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Barsame is put in a female body because he was a rapist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the Dark One. It's a sick sense of humor. This was interesting, exactly. Vicky Klee. Lanfear wants to be recognized as the best for things she did, not things she has. Just like the way she downplays her power level. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, because, right, she is powerful, but like it was said in Robert Jordan's thing, like didn't like to flaunt it, preferred to let others think that she was less powerful, right? She's obviously the most beautiful and she's using that, but it's not the things that she has, it's things she doesn't have yet, or the things that she can do or accomplish, or So that's the lack of being satisfied with what she has or what she's accomplished. Like she cannot be like that is not in her makeup as a person, and it definitely leads her down to become like a Forsaken and help to bring about the end of an age, if you will. She's done, and maybe this is a good moment to not even. So we haven't really talked about this, like her. She does, like, I think she's a governor of at least one city during basically the collapse of society after she goes to the shadow, and the place that she's over has the highest level or number of suicides. Like what? So Camille,
I read that and I found that very funny.
Well, I mean, like, what is it? Why? Like, what is is it just sadism? Like, she's going into people's dreams. Like, they talk about people just being tortured in their dreams. Like, that's a very almost personal level kind of, right? Like, you might, as a leading in a war, you might, like, you go in and you destroy an entire city, like 1 million people, right? That's horrendous. Like, she could have gone at the head of an army and done those things, but in this, it talks about, like, she tortured people in their dreams, and, like, why? Like, what does that tell us about Lanfear?
I actually don't know. It's
I wonder if that had, because in Ilion, the people in Ilion were having lots of nightmares, and that's one of the ways Mierin identifies him physically being there. So I wonder if there's some tie that the Forsaken have when they're in place and in one place for so long that they start having these effects. Because even though she was doing all these atrocities, going in and deliberately, specifically manipulating the dream world, I don't believe that she was deliberately doing that to the people of her territories. And the White Book does say she served as the governor of conquered territories at least once. But I wonder if it's that powerful emanating tie to the dream that just seeps into all the various dream bubbles of people in the I don't know.
She was
out there. Maybe add that to the theories discussion.
Like, maybe not like a 1-to-1, but she knew how to manipulate the dream world where
and just the evil presence of her being there just starts touching on those dreams.
Because you look at Moghedien and just what Moghedien promised to do to Brigitte. And so, like, every time you come into the dream world, like, was it like be a horse or something? And I was just like, this is what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to be, and I can make that happen. In the same way, I can see how Lanfear knows and understands it so much that, could affect the dream world in a way that everyone in a certain area potentially. Don't they say that the dream bubbles are close to you? The ones that you're close to are in proximity often, like the closest to you?
No, they're not necessarily. Like, being in physical proximity to each other in the real world. So that was just
that's not. It doesn't ever. There's no, like, tendency for that at all. I don't know why I thought it. Maybe that was just like an old theory that got, like, shot down, and it's not how it is.
The people that you're emotionally close to. So if you have these strong emotions about people,
gotcha.
You get drawn to their dream. So if she's like hopping around in the disembodied blackness with all the dream bubbles, people who are terrified of her might get drawn close to her, and maybe that's how it works.
Yeah, I was just trying to say, like, how would you create that effect that you were talking about? Anyways, that's going too deep into the theory kind of side of it, probably. This stubble, that hurts, man. Lanfear is Matt's favorite character because he recognizes himself in her. Wow, That's a dagger, man. Wow, that's rude. I agree.
You know what? Just switch out Matt for Leia, and that's true. Like, my favorite. Like, honestly, I see, if I hadn't had therapy or good influences in my life, I definitely would have potentially gone down these more nefarious paths.
Leia's like coming out saying, like, I am Lanfear in the first age, but I got therapy.
Yes, basically.
Is Lanfear the best strategist among the Forsaken? Again, a split poll basically on this one. So Yeah, I which it makes sense. I get that some people have their favorites among these. I definitely agree. Definitely has a sadistic streak. That has to be part of this this discussion. Like, she is not against it, but it's often not. I don't know. Like I somebody brought this up earlier. Like, she goes in and she uses the tools just for that thing that she wants. I think I haven't seen it where it's just like overall. I have to go back and read some of that stuff about the Second Age. But I'm trying to think like it doesn't feel like it's as core as to maybe other Forsaken that the sadism, but it's there. But I don't feel like it's a streak that she's always in at all times, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If she's not Samara.
Right.
Like, if you have to talk about sadistic Forsaken, like, Lanfear doesn't come up even in my like top 3 or something like that. Like, yeah, Semirhage is at the front. It's
I mean, yes, Andrew, you're right. Anyone who would skin the messenger is sadistic. Yeah, no, she definitely has streaks and moments of it. It is not maybe as core as to other people, if you will.
Listen, it was a very specific situation. She didn't know Bran was sleeping with someone. Okay, that was a very bad message to give her.
Have you ever had something that happens that you just have such a strong reaction, and then later you're like,
and you just,
I maybe shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with this, Alexander. She doesn't see the worth of common people. That much is true. Ravine says something like, "Don't tell me you're here to defend a defenseless woman." Right? He was like, "That's not why you're." Because she showed up and she said something about.
Well, because she was raised in this elite class in the Second Age, and I feel like that does get into her entitlement, like, and feeling like she deserves something. So, like, she is the most beautiful and she is the most powerful female channeler. And she's like, okay, so come on, can I get mine a little bit? Like, I don't care about those things, but gimme.
I agree that Road to Tarvalon said, "It is a touch removed. Killing with your own hands is different than a dream mentally. I mean, like women who kill with poison, maybe it's more stereotype based." That's an interesting thing to bring up. That was Jordan playing on that with Lanfear. Do you see this? Dale said, "This is a bit of a mustache twirling from Lanfear." Do you see that Lanfear has a little bit of mustache twirling villain about her? Is that the drama? Is that the she's like, "Who is Avienda?" Right? Is that like or?
Well, that's not much. That's her just reacting to a situation. But if she, sorry, Camille, you're gonna say something.
I don't think so, because like we managed not to know that she had survived for years, and like if she was much like I don't know exactly mustache
twirling,
twirling villain. I mean, we would have had more hints or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like maybe there's a little. I think that's the drama queen aspect of that maybe. But I think if this makes sense, I don't think that that's actually her. I think she's always playing at that. I think she's using, if she ever does it, I think it's absolutely play acting for her in purposely trying to create something. Whereas I think there's just other villains that are just really bad at what they do.
I think she thinks everyone else is stupider than her.
Yes,
and if
that's
she's
true.
Giving you information, it's because she needs you to get on her page so you don't mess up her plan. So when she tells Rand, I am like, you should find a male Forsaken to teach you. That's not her mustache twirling. That's her being like, okay, dummy, you need to find somebody to teach you, and you're not going to figure this out by yourself. And I'm going to put you in a situation where you can have it.
Yeah, she definitely thinks everyone's manipulatable. Like, she thinks everyone can be bought. She thinks that you just need to find the right thing, right? She tries to do that to Rand at the very end. Again, she's like, and he almost succeeds. Rand talks about like feeling like and he wants to, and he's like, I do feel this still. Like, I feel like I want to help you. I just know I should not, right? And there is that that part of her, and something that I think is probably, she is. I can't remember what it was that she said where he's like, okay, that is true, the thing you just said. I have to go back and read that one. But not against telling the truth. to get what she wants either, I guess. Someone who's still capable of seeing what the truth is, but again, steps up to that line, always steps back from that line, right? Like sees the truth of something, but it doesn't serve her purposes, so she steps away from it, but not incapable of seeing it, which I think is the flaw in other characters. I think she can look at a situation, maybe not in the moment of Aviendha and Kadir in that, where she can step up and see, and that's why I think makes her a great strategist, is that she can actually make the right choice for her in most situations. Every once in a while, there's a moment but she cannot contain herself. I have to read this one. I found this one really. I don't have the picture. I'll see if I can find it. Everyone knows that the Big White Book had a ton of Wheel of Time art, and maybe not everyone's favorite in some cases. The Big White Book had another infamous name of the Book of Bad Art or something like that. The Big White Book of Bad Art or something like that. And Robert Jordan was giving feedback about the pictures, and he wrote this in 1996. And this was some of these feedback that he gives it's really cool because you get, again, behind the scenes of how he views a character, even when it comes to drawing that character. And this one comes from Box 57, Folder 9. And in 59 is the number of comments he had, or things that were being commented on. And I don't know that he wrote this versus, like, I don't know. I don't know if he actually wrote these words in a fax or if he gave this to somebody else to, like gave feedback and then they wrote the words that he was saying. But either way, it says 59, Lanfear, background, dress, and coloration just fine, but hair in a sleek bun, maybe with pearls or silvery fine linked chains woven through it, imperious and icy, not bed-tussled, is the look. Also put her arms at her side. This is a rather folksy pose. She ain't folksy. I just think this is a great, like, he's giving feedback on the art, and he's like, right, it needs to be more refined. A sleek bun. I think the hair in the actual picture that went in the books is long, and
I have it here.
Do you? Oh yeah. So
really
maybe can you send it on like Twitter and I'll throw it up there, or maybe yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, you can lift it up to the screen here, and maybe I'll land. Oops. Yeah, there you go. So that is what. See, the arms are crossed. So the arms are crossed, and he's like, no, put the arms at the side. Put the hair up in a sleek bun. Like, she's not folksy. She's not the kind of person. So that, does that tell us anything else? What does that tell us about, because when we went back to that point of she's beautiful, is that she is, what's the word? I can't think of the word. When somebody, vain, right? Do you think of Lanfear as vain, or do you think she just wants to control perception? And are those two like really on the edge of the same thing? Like, is it the perception of how she wants people to consider her? Like, she wouldn't be crossing her arms like that in a folksy pose, if you will. No, she's like, she's not that kind of person.
She's so self-confident. She wouldn't be like, okay, cool, whatever. Like, she would control every aspect of how she looks, but not out of vanity, out of like, this is who I am, and this is who you will see me as, because you're not allowed to think of me anything other than I want you to think of me. And it's not vanity, like, I want to be the most pretty or the most glamorous or the most gorgeous. It's like, you will respect me and perceive me this way.
Yeah. Is it just like she wants to, if it's not vain, is just control, basically?
Yeah, she's controlling the message about herself, and part of the way you look is part of that message.
Yeah,
she's her own best PR agent.
I like that. Okay, let's see if there's anything here I didn't. No, I think I kind of covered the things I thought were. I don't think I didn't throw. There's like one of these I didn't put up here, but I don't think it's relevant or that it needs to be up. This one's good. Let's throw this one up here because this is a Wheel of Time companion about Lanfear, and this.
I'm saying.
Oh yeah, go.
I'm saying some people in the chat like saying refined and sophisticated, and I think that was more how I would have described Lanfear too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Refined and sophisticated. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like Bane and Chad said, this is pajama girlfriend Lanfear.
That's what she looked like when she woke up in the morning after a night's with Luz.
So this one says she loved Lews Therin with a possessiveness and jealousy near madness. She always hated Ilyena and believed that Ilyena stole Lews Therin from her, which is like wild because they don't date until like 50 years after Lews Therin and Lanfear like are broken up, basically. So it's like that's a persistent possessiveness and jealousy near madness. Camille, possessiveness and jealousy near madness. Like is that just like jealousy going off the rails? Like I guess when you mix those things, or I guess we just have it, possessiveness and jealousy. Is there anything else you would say when describing that?
I mean, she does skin a man because of possessiveness and jealousy.
Yeah. Possessive, jealous, envious, greedy, power hungry, sophisticated, like beautiful, powerful, intelligent, strategic, but also like sadistic, sociopathic, he definitely painted a picture where it's hard to know, like, again, we're not in her head. She just takes on a characteristic and whatever she needs, survivor, right? Whatever she needs to be good at, she basically, maybe she's always second best or third best, but she has enough of a skill at it to survive. And I guess
it still puts you on the podium.
Yes. Hated being number 3 on the podium, but on enough podiums, she's on enough podiums that she's survived this long, and she's a formidable opponent. All of them kind of feel that.
She's the one at the Forsaken Olympics that has the most medals, but it's just but none of them are gold, and it's mad.
Yes, which is
yes.
when you take it in, you're like, and she would destroy worlds for that. When you take it outside of that context, you just put it in the context of the kind of type of person she is. Yeah, can't be second best ever, and it's not enough, and will never be enough. Dissatisfied, unsatisfied, whatever you want to call that. This is Dale. There you go. She's everything you want a villain to be, firing on all the evil cylinders. That is. Oh man, that deserves. That's my favorite statement from the chat today. So Dale, hit me up, man. I get to send you a mug for that one. That is she's everything you want a villain to be, firing all the evil cylinders.
That also just shows how great a writer Jordan was. Is that he knew, in order to have this almost perfect villain, you needed to give her flaws, and her major flaw is she is not the best at anything, and that is going to drive her absolutely bonkers and will make her fight for it every single second, every single moment, and keep going.
Okay, so
and it's just it's perfect.
Yeah, no, it drives. It absolutely drives her. So, have we missed anything? Those of you that are watching right now, I know we started. We started a little bit later than we intended to because of some technical problems. I need to let my guests get back to their lives today, and we have more Lanfear to discuss over the next 4 days. And tomorrow, when we do this, I now know how to prevent that thing from happening that happened at the beginning, a little bubble of evil. Is there anything else we've missed? What have we missed from an attribute standpoint when you think of a character profile? Are there any talents that we didn't bring up that we should? Obviously, she's a dreamer, from what we understand. Really, really skilled. Again, maybe second best, third best in Teleron, but very skilled. Talented researcher, scientist, at least as far as the one power is concerned, which means, again, talented with the one power itself. Is there anything that you think we have not talked about or discussed that we should highlight about Lanfear before we call this good?
I can't think of anything.
I saw.
So she does have a unique, a little bit of compassion. She does, when it suits her, is able to tap into her compassion. And like she knows when it's convenient.
Is it compassion
But
or is it just
I don't
like...
know if that still feeds into the self-interest. So like when
Yeah.
she heals Perrin and Gaul and she's like, I could. Okay, fine, I will. Like she offers it up and like she's offering up all these things and like.
But was it compassion or just her having a plan and being one step in front of everyone? Because she did needed Perrin at the end of it in order to fake her death.
Yeah.
So Perrin needed to be alive for that.
Yeah, well, it goes back to that kind of strategy side, right? Playing both sides, her capability of doing it so well that, like what you're saying, Leah, is she
knows when to turn on the compassion.
Yeah,
she's able to access that emotion.
It's the evil side, right? It's manipulation, but she's able to fake that. If you know what I mean, she's able to bring that up into a place where people believe it's.
She understands the emotion enough and how she can A, do it, and B, people will respond to it.
Yeah.
That she's able to effectively use it. And I think that's like, you have to, like, you can't just have a book understanding of that. Like, I think she does have compassion. She chooses not to be compassionate, but she is capable of compassion.
And I don't know, you're right. And well, that's true, because I don't think you could fake it, as in, I think she understands it well enough that it comes across to people that are being manipulated as real, unless you know her, right? And like the other Forsaken are like, oh yeah, no, I know what she's doing here, right? But I don't think she's so sociopathic in the sense of like incapable of understanding human. Like she comes across, like even at the very end with Rand, has that moment of like where Rand is convinced, right? And he's like, but I know who you are, so I can't. No. But it's so convincing, like so real. Yeah. So that's that is an interesting one. I have to bring this one up. I see Lanfear highlight once again how great of a scientist you are. Lanfear, you were definitely like the second best among the scientists. That's what you were, definitely second best. I feel like that's if. Anytime Lanfear would ask a question, you could probably be like, you're probably the second best at something. This is the last thing I think we should just quickly, briefly touch on. Only Age of Legends chosen to choose her own name. Like that, that is so interesting. That to me is...
she was the first Aes Sedai to go over, so I wonder if she made this, she thought... I wonder if the Dark One was like, I'm not going to allow that precedent to happen after this.
Who's choosing the names?
I gave her a little bit more psychological power than I meant to, so we're not going to do that again.
Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. Like, that was very process oriented. You're like, the Dark One's like, no, you're going to come to me. You're going to swear to me, and I'm going to come up with your name. That is funny. I didn't think about that. It's like, she's the only one that got to choose a name. Like, who's else is choosing? Is it the Dark One? Does the Dark One like the name? like that is like a funny thing. You'd think that they all were choosing their own name.
Random name generator.
Yeah, why were they not all choosing their own, but she got to choose hers? So again, it could be like the Dark One was like, hey, you drilled a hole into the prison. You finally came over like you knew you should. I'll let you choose your name. That's fine. You can keep that one. But it is interesting that it's pointed out. Camille, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Was she not important enough for the Dark One to pick a name?
Oh,
that's when you're saying not good enough. She was like second best. She was. Now this is
that's rough.
I thought for sure. I thought for sure. Maybe I don't want to like mislead anyone here. Andrew said Semirog went over before Lanfear. I don't. Why do I feel like I saw that Lanfear? Now
I saw in. Hold on.
I don't remember reading about her coming. Like, I think the White Book says she's
the
not
White
the first
Book. I
to,
believe. I'm gonna pull this out.
Yeah,
come.
big White Book. I thought that I had read that. Yeah, someone go look it up. Let's not end on the like.
All of us looking in our books.
Yeah, like you go ahead and do that, and I will. I'll tell you what the poll By the way, I think it's like, that page 62 or 63, I think, talks about her, because it talks about when she swore over to the shadow, at least, had to do with after the marriage between Lews Therin. After Lews Therin got married to Lyanna, then...
It was a year after the marriage.
Yeah, but I don't know why I thought that it was also had said first.
I did read somewhere, because I put that in my notes also, that I made it specifically, but then I didn't put the reference.
How dare you?
Bad Brown Aja. Bad.
I'm going to end this poll. About 100 of you voted on this. Is Lanfear vain? 68% said yes. Okay. Let's ask this one while we're waiting, while we're all looking. Has your opinion about Lanfear changed at all today? Okay. And I'm going to go look, by the way, while we're all chatting. See, it would have been really cool if we were just all reading the books as the show began, instead of trying to make it all work. But I thought I had read, and if we can't find it, then we just can't, and we'll just go with anybody else out there. You're like, this was the one piece I forgot to cite somewhere. And let's see if it talks about it here. No, it just talks about her being kind of playing both sides. Let's see.
Okay, so in the wiki, it says, evidently the very first Aes Sedai to betray humanity.
Yeah,
and of course there's no
citation.
Reference,
yeah,
no citation there.
I'll have to go back. I thought that I had read somewhere. So, but yeah, it'd be hilarious, honestly, if she was the second. That would be so. That is the one question we'll answer tomorrow. We'll start us off. I mean, it has to do with the Second Age, so it's a good place for us to go verify that piece of information. We'll bring it back to our discussion. Thank you for all sticking around, even though we had some technical difficulties. What would this be like if there wasn't a bubble of evil every once in a while? What I realized is you just kind of have to handle those things live, because that's the only way to do it. It's fun. And thank you both for showing up and being part of this, and doing some research about Lanfear. What was the most interesting thing you kind of ran into that maybe you didn't realize about Lanfear before we did the show? Was there something where you're like, oh, actually, I didn't know that?
I really thought for a long time that Lanfear joined the Dark One right after reading the bow, but I didn't know that it was actually quite longer after that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's so much longer, right? That one, you're like, wait. For some reason, I thought it was 5 years after, and I don't know why I had ever had 5 years, because it's not from what we're told. So that one kind of that one makes me go wait, why did I ever think that?
Yeah. It's funny because I didn't remember that before the War of Shadow, between the drilling of the bow and the War of Shadow, there's 100 years. And the War of Shadow is just 10 years. And then there's a long breaking of the world. And I really thought that the War of Shadow really started pretty soon after the drilling. Yeah. So I had never looked it up, so I did for this.
Nice. So I just tried to start, we'll see if this even worked, a raffle in chat. We'll do a giveaway as we're finishing up here, and I'm starting to see chat respond to that. And we'll pick a winner as we go. Leah, anything for you as far as the thing you ran into that you were kind of fascinated by?
So I think I thought she was in the books more.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She's just always this ever-present. People are always talking about Lanfear, but when you go back, and she's very much in the Great Hunt to Fires of Heaven. Yeah. And then she's got a little bit of Sindane, but you just kind of see Sindane mentioned. And then A Memory of Light is where she really comes back very full bore. She's not in the books a lot. Yeah.
Honestly, we don't get a ton of many Forsaken. That's one of the things that you just don't see in the books. And she did it. It seemed like she had all these plans, and we'll get into that later this week, which is what was she going to do with Perrin and Matt? what were the plans that she had? How did they change? Did Jordan just decide, no, he's not going to do this? She's too involved and we're just going to like get rid of her. Like, when did he change? It seems like what was planned for her changed at some point with Jordan, because again, then she's gone, right? And we don't get as much of her. So I think both of those, the idea of it took her a long time to go over to the shadow, although she was already kind of there, right? Like Jordan's like, she was ripe for she was acting it out, whether or not she was she was part of the shadow at that point. And I agree with Alexander. It would have been nice to have given us more kind of perspective from her thoughts. But I feel like some of that is on purpose, right? Like why Jordan doing that makes us really make our own commentary. Like everyone felt like she was the most jealousy was the thing that kind of rang out to be the trait that was like the most dominant. I don't think jealousy to me isn't the most dominant. I'd almost
compare her with Third Age Aes Sedai. Like Third Age Aes Sedai are really scary until you start getting in their POVs, and then you're just like, oh, you're just normal people who have all the same problems that we do. If you started really getting into their heads, then I feel like it would just make them a little less scary.
I got you. So you think if we had heard Lanfear's thoughts, we'd have been like, it's not scary.
You're just a normal person who just needed therapy.
Just a normal person.
And I think we see a lot Lanfear or Sidon through Rand or Perrin POV, and both like subtlety. So maybe they're just not able to comprehend the beauty of the plans that Lanfear is weaving.
That's right. I like it. Has your opinion about Lanfear changed at all today? 26. We changed. This conversation has changed the opinion of Lanfear 26%. 74% of you came in like me. You had an idea about Lanfear and you probably weren't changing it. No, this was good. This was fun. People have asked me, why do I like Lanfear? And it goes back to Dale's comment. There's just like, it's a villain hitting on all the evil cylinders, right? And there's just something interesting about having that kind of villain in a story, because it makes it more interesting and real when there's actually, the Dark One's kind of just this thing, but having someone that represents a formidable opponent in that way, I think has always been interesting to me. And she has all sorts of plots and plans. She's dramatic. She's got theatrics. Like, that's really speculative. I love the theorizing about, I did not theorize about Ishamael much at all. I was just like, I don't know. He just seems like he's just like doing whatever the Dark One tells him to do. But Lanfear had that kind of like, oh, what is Lanfear up to? Question. That always fascinated me. I love the theories. 47 of you joined this one. Let's close out the entries. Hopefully you had an opportunity to join us or to join that raffle giveaway. And I'm going to do 2 giveaways each episode of this week. If you will make a comment on the video afterwards, tell me what your favorite attribute is of Lanfear. Like, what do you think, whether or not it's like a terrible aspect of her, but like what's kind of the most interesting, your favorite attribute of Lanfear? If you leave that in a comment, I will pick one of those comments after this. I'll give it a day or two. Maybe I'll wait till the end of Lanfear week, and we'll make sure we send out a winner. So if you stick around once the video is over and you go back and leave a comment, I will pick another winner. But the winner of the live chat is Dennis Euland. Dennis, if you are here, congratulations. You just won yourself some Dusty Wheel swag. I will get you a gift certificate sent to you to our store, and you can go grab a mug, something else there, like a t-shirt if you want it instead. All you have to do is reach out to me on Discord or on social media. Just ask the way. There's a bunch of links in the description of this video. You can maybe ask in chat here. But congratulations on winning that. And thank you again, both of you. Rational Nerd. Camille, how's the podcast, and where can people find you? Where should they go find Queers of Time if they want to follow what you're doing?
Yeah, so I have a podcast called Queers of Time. We are 4 people being queer and being chaotic. You can find us pretty much everywhere you can find a podcast, and like Twitter, Tumblr, Discord, TikTok, Instagram, this kind of thing.
And I put the link to your podcast. Actually, I put the link to Linktree. If you'll go check out their Linktree, you can find the Queers of Time podcast. How's that? It seems like you're all having a blast. Like the conversation. My favorite part is the conversation between all of you on social media, like back and forth about episodes. Like that is some of the funniest stuff that I love it. I love it.
It's hilarious for me to wake up and find out that there's a bunch of things that got tweeted, and then I read that and I'm like, okay, was it Matt or was it James? What happened?
It's hilarious. Yeah, you should go definitely go follow them. There's a number of Wheel of Time podcasts out there, and again, I like that the voices you all have are fascinating. It's four of you, right? That are
yes.
On, and so I love that. Again, some of the podcasts where they just have like Talk Around Rad, I just love the different distinct personalities, and same thing with Queers of Time. So. Hopefully you guys keep going and keep providing us some hilarious content. And Leia, Threefold Talk, you guys are on every Thursday night. I apologize. We're going to be doing a live stream during the Thursday. But you guys are on every Thursday night. Is it it's at 9 p.m. Eastern? Is that correct?
9 p.m. Eastern, yes, on Malkier Talks YouTube channel. We also you can follow Malkier Talks all the same places, but we're a subset of the Malkier Talks umbrella. So we're in the Malkier Talks Discord channel. We have our own little group of chats. Don't know the Discord term. We also have our own Twitter account. So just follow us there. We're a Aiel-based variety show. We talk the daily news, the Daily Veil, of all the Wheel of Time-isms that have happened during the week, and then we play games. Sometimes we have serious conversations.
Interpret dreams.
Interpret dreams, do makeup tutorials, all the sort of things.
Yeah. Check these both wonderful people out. Thank you for spending some time talking about my favorite character in the Wheel of Time. It's been a blast. And thank you for all, like I said, sticking with us, even though we had some technical difficulties before this started. And congratulations, Dennis, again, for winning that. And leave us a comment afterwards and for another opportunity to win some Dusty Wheel swag. That's it, everybody. We are back tomorrow talking about Mierin, Eronaile, the Second Age, and love, loss, and loose there. We're going to dig deep into all the controversy that was going on, the drama queen that was Mierin Eronaile and became Lanfear. But until then, as we see around here, good afternoon from the Dusty Wheel, and smash to black.
Welcome to the Dusty Wheel.
Hey, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. You went right to kill it. Look at you, you're all ready. You're just done. I mean, this is like this is
really well. And now I'm like, great, my turn.
And if you don't like that, and you want to say, well, Robert Jordan could have made the two rivers all white. He could have, but he didn't. So
Just complimented me on my dress, and as you can clearly see, I'm
sad.
not
I see Lukomi as something along the lines of a Shada Haran analog.
It does make sense why it outlasted the breaking.
Yeah.
See, this is why I have Therese in the show, because she's going to correct everything that.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Dusty Wheel Show. What? Meme Off Challenge. Yay!
Pair of like baby face mounted on like a huge body. So like all of a sudden,
This is not just
like,
a traditional fantasy, right? There are sci-fi
and
elements.
Just a moment ago, Rafe tweeted something. So let me get my guest in here with me. And
probably, I would say, put in 70, 80% of the work. I got to be over the shoulder and be like, no,